Okay. Good afternoon, English 101 and Mr. Rumsey. This is Kevin Estelle. I'm sorry for my absence. I couldn't make it today, so sorry I couldn't be with you guys. The title of my paper was A Bright Future, and my topic was solar energy. My views, for the most part, didn't really change because I knew that Earth received a lot of solar energy, but I didn't know how much. So after I researched, I found out that Earth receives about 85,000 terawatts, and a terawatt is like a trillion watts. So 85,000, it's more like 85 quadrillion. So when you have like your 60-watt light bulbs, things like that, you have 65 quadrillion watts from the sun each year. So really, you'd say, well, it's kind of silly that we can't harvest that much energy. The problem is our technology just isn't up to par yet. So like a solar panel receives about 12 to 13% of actual energy, and the panels are called photovoltaic, and what that means is it converts solar energy into electricity. So essentially, photovoltaic, photo is photons, and voltaic has to do with volts, voltages, and electricity. So that's where photovoltaic comes in. There are advancements being made to the technology, and different kinds. Like in America, what they found out was Google, they funded a program called eSolar, where they have like 24,000 mirrors focusing the sun at this one boiler, and it boils the water, creates steam, and powers the turbine. Where in Germany, instead of, in America, quantity, 24,000 mirrors is a lot. In Germany, they have just a couple of what they call Stirling parabolic, the photovoltaic, and they absorb more like 30% instead of America's 12 to 13%. And just like everything, there's a lot of pros and cons to solar technology. The problem with like Google's eSolar program, with the 24,000 mirrors, takes up a lot of room. Each plantation powers about 300,000 homes, but takes up a quarter of a square mile. So it takes up a lot of room, and with Germany's more advanced Stirlings, it's pretty expensive. The material and all that kind of stuff is a lot more expensive than, say, just a regular mirror or standard solar panel. So pros and cons there. Besides that, a good thing about solar energy is that sun is everywhere essentially, but just everybody knows it's not there at night. So the problem with that is it's not as available in the north as it would be in the south, and that's where most of the Google plantations and most solar energy is in southern countries and southern states, because they get a lot more sunlight. A couple ideas. One was if we put solar panels on the moon and always on the side that faces the sun, and so that way you get 24-hour solar energy. And when the moon is behind the Earth, you just have solar panels on that side of the Earth to cover it up. So the idea is you have solar energy all the time. But of course, the con to that is we don't have the technology to beam energy back to Earth yet in like radio wavelength form. The only way to transport solar energy right now is in batteries, and the problem with that is that then you have to factor in the cost and the time it takes to transport these batteries. The only other way to actually use solar energy is if somebody has like the actual solar panels at their house and it's directly linked up to the generator, or if solar energy is linked up directly to a power station, which at the nighttime they're going to have to fall back on coal energy anyways. So probably the greatest advantage to solar energy is that once it is installed, it's really, really cheap. The sun, it just comes in all the time. But probably the worst thing is that the initial cost is great, even though they've calculated out since 1992, the price has dropped about 5.5% each year, and so it is getting cheaper. And then the other great drawback is that it does take up a lot of room. A quarter of a mile is not that much for 300,000 people, but we could do better, and we could definitely do better than 12 to 13%. So it's getting there. It's a really, really good option, but it's not. Our technology is just not quite there yet. So kind of my summary would be that solar energy is a possible option, and it's a really good one. It's getting more and more advanced and more applicable and feasible. But I think that alternative energy is going to be location specific. Like in the north, they're going to use geothermal energy because there's a lot of springs. In the south, solar energy. In places where it's rich with natural gas, use natural gas. So it's really going to be location specific unless something terrific does happen, like we put solar panels on the moon and can beam it back to Earth. So the future will tell, and I think that since we have the greatest minds, America and Germany, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other countries are studying up on solar energy, that I think we have a bright future. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a great winter break.